The snow came down hard that night. It wasn't the gentle kind that kissed the ground and went quiet, no, this was the kind that buried everything alive. The wind screamed across the Montana plains like a ghost searching for a soul to take. Somewhere out there, a man was riding through it. Eli Ward, a ranch hand, drifter, and the kind of cowboy who didn't talk much, leaned low on his horse, squinting against the blinding storm. His coat was crusted with snow, his beard frozen stiff, and his fingers numb from hours of riding. He wasn't heading anywhere special, just trying to survive the night. The wind shifted, and through the white blur, he saw it, a faint flicker of smoke curling from behind a cluster of fallen pines. He tugged the reins, guiding his horse toward it. Maybe someone else had made a fire, maybe he wasn't alone out here after all. But when he got closer, his gut twisted. There was no fire, only ruin. A small log cabin had collapsed, half buried under snow and splintered wood. One side had caved in, the roof broken like a snapped ribcage. "Damn," he muttered, jumping down. The wind howled again, colder than a curse. He took a few steps forward and froze, because from somewhere inside that wreckage came a sound. A cry. A woman's voice, weak and muffled. "Help, please, someone." Eli didn't think twice. He dropped his gloves and ran to the ruins. "Ma'am. I hear you." No answer, just the faint wail of a baby underneath the noise of the storm. His heart slammed against his chest. He tore at the beams, the snow burning his hands raw. The logs were heavy, wet, frozen solid. He dug like a madman, bare hands bleeding, breath coming in ragged bursts. Every minute counted. Every second, the cold was closing in. After what felt like forever, he found her, a young woman, trapped under a beam, her face pale as frost. In her arms, a tiny bundle wrapped in a torn quilt. The baby was crying softly, still alive. "I got you," Eli rasped. "Hold on." He shoved the beam aside, muscles trembling, and pulled her free. She gasped for air, clutching the baby tight. He wrapped his coat around both of them. "You're safe now." Her lips quivered. "I thought, no one would find us." "Lucky for you," Eli said, trying to smile through his exhaustion, "I don't much care for luck." He carried them to his horse, lifted them gently, and mounted up. Snow lashed his face, but he kept riding, every gust of wind trying to knock him down. Miles later, he spotted an abandoned barn near the ridge. The roof still held, mostly. He kicked the door open, led the horse inside, and laid them near a pile of hay. He built a small fire with what dry wood he could find, his hands shaking so badly he almost dropped the match. When the flames finally caught, the woman started to cry softly, half relief, half pain. "Name's Eli," he said quietly. "You got a name, miss?" She looked up, eyes dazed. "Clara," she whispered. "Clara Briggs." He nodded. "And the little one?" She looked down at the baby with trembling lips. "Samuel." Eli smiled faintly. "Strong name. He'll need it." She smiled, weak but real. For hours, he kept the fire going, feeding it bits of hay and broken wood. Clara drifted in and out of sleep, the baby whimpering softly in her arms. Eli watched over them, exhaustion gnawing at his bones. At some point, she whispered, "You saved us." He shook his head. "You were still breathing when I found you. I just helped you keep it that way." But the truth was, he couldn't stop thinking about how close they'd been to dying, how one more hour, one more snowdrift, and no one would have ever known they were there. Morning came gray and bitter. The storm had passed, but the cold hadn't. Eli gave them the last of his jerky and melted snow for water. Clara's strength returned little by little, though she still looked fragile as a shadow. She told him her husband had built the cabin. They'd come west last spring, chasing a dream like so many others. But the winter came early, and her husband had ridden out for supplies 2 weeks ago, never came back. Eli's jaw tightened. Probably got caught in the storm. Clara looked at the floor. I think so. He stayed another night, keeping them warm, making sure the baby ate. The fire crackled low, and the silence between them grew heavy but not uncomfortable. Eli stared into the flames. You'll make it, you know. You and the boy. She glanced at him. What about you? He shrugged. I keep moving. Always do. She smiled softly. Maybe, stay a little while. He didn't answer, but his eyes said enough. By the third day, the sun returned. The land looked peaceful, hiding the danger beneath its beauty. Clara could stand again, her cheeks touched with color. The baby gurgled in his sleep, wrapped in Eli's scarf. When they stepped outside, the world glittered like glass. Eli saddled his horse, helped Clara mount behind him, baby bundled in her arms. They rode toward the nearest settlement, Dry Creek, a few miles north. But fate wasn't done testing them. Halfway there, Eli spotted tracks in the snow, fresh ones. 3 horses, heavy riders. He frowned. We've got company. Clara tensed. Who? Bandits, maybe. Or worse. He steered them off the main trail, through a grove of frost-covered pines. They moved slow, quiet, trying not to break the silence of the snow. Then, gunfire. A bullet hissed past Eli's hat. He spun his horse behind a fallen log. Stay down. 3 riders came over the ridge, rifles drawn. Hand over the woman and whatever you're carrying, one shouted. Eli's eyes went cold. You picked the wrong man to rob. He fired first. One shot cracked through the air, and the lead rider tumbled into the snow. The others fired back, bullets slicing through branches. Clara screamed, holding the baby close. Eli dove, rolling behind a tree, firing again. The second bandit went down. The third turned to flee, but Eli's last bullet stopped him cold. Silence. Just the sound of wind again. Clara stared at him, trembling. You killed them. He holstered his revolver, breathing hard. They would have killed you. Or worse. Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear, but something else. Gratitude, maybe. Or the weight of realizing how close she'd come to death again. Eli rode them the rest of the way without a word. When they reached Dry Creek, the townsfolk rushed to help. Clara and the baby were taken in by a kind widow who ran the general store. Eli stood by the door, hat in hand, watching as Clara turned back to him. She walked up, the baby asleep in her arms. You're leaving, aren't you? He nodded. Storm's over. My work here's done. She bit her lip. I'll never forget you, Eli Ward. He gave her a small smile. Just remember to keep the fire warm. That's all I ask. He turned, stepping into the cold morning. The snow glittered like diamonds around him. As he mounted his horse, she called out, Eli. He looked back. Clara's eyes shone with tears. Thank you, for giving us another chance. He tipped his hat. Ma'am, that's all any of us ever get, one more chance. And then he rode off, into the rising sun, his figure shrinking against the endless white plains. Some said he vanished after that, others claimed they saw him years later, still wandering from town to town, helping strangers who never knew his name. But around campfires, long after the snow melted, they still tell the story. About the cowboy who found a woman and her baby trapped in a broken cabin. And dug them out with his bare hands. You've just heard another timeless Western tale from Frontier Echoes. Where every storm hides a story of courage, love, and redemption. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep these stories alive. Tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's keep the frontier spirit burning.